those goals, the project will excavate low benches and alcoves. The excavation increases flood capacity and the amount of habitat that's available for fish. Several project features enhance habitat for salmon, but particular focus will be placed on areas needed for rearing. Alcoves create protected low-velocity habitat that's used by rearing salmon. And planting native trees and shrubs increases the shade to reduce river temperature.
Okay, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Operation Public Safety Committee meeting. We're going to get started here. We're going to start off with roll call, please.
Thank you, Council President. Council President Boyce.
Here.
Councilmember Fincher.
Here.
Councilmember Kaur.
Here.
Councilmember Larmer.
Here.
Councilmember Michaud. Councilmember Thomas. Councilmember Troutner.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kim. We got 5 items on our agenda tonight. Any changes to the agenda, council members? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to ask for approval for the agenda.
So moved. Second.
Motion is second in discussion. Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, let the record show unanimous pass. Moving on to item number 4, business, is approval of the minutes from February 7th.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the minutes from February 7th, 2023.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Let the record show unanimous pass. Go move on to item number 4B, payments of the bills.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve payment of the bills.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Let the record show unanimous pass. Moving on to item 4C, Collaborative Solution LLC Agreement for Workday Lien on Service. We have the honor of having Carrie here. Carrie, how you doing?
Good.
All righty, all yours.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Council President Boyce and council members. I'm here today, I'm Carrie Endicott from Human Resources. I'm the HRIS Administrator. And Annette Pape has joined me in the audience in case any questions come up. She's the project manager for the Workday implementation. Today I'm going to be presenting the Collaborative Solutions Lien On Service Contract. Collaborative Solutions provides the professional services that helps Human Resources and Payroll support related changes in labor agreements, MOUs, city policies, local, state, federal mandates, and Workday's major releases. Prior to implementation, the costs related to Workday were paid out of the IT capital project budget, and then the subscription costs related to Workday were paid out of the IT operating budgets after the project was done. The budget is now moving for the Lien on Support service hours to HR's operating budget, which was adopted in the 2023 biennial budget, so the dollar amounts that we're going to be using. And so therefore we're requesting authorization for the renewal of these services. We are also requesting future change orders and statements of work be authorized according to the amended value of the work performed by Collaborative Solutions under the Master Service Agreement and the approved budget. That's high level, so does anyone have any questions?
So all of the, I guess you call it operating procedure now on a Workday will be on the HR budget, no longer on the IT budget.
Correct, yeah. The actual subscription cost for Workday is still within the IT budget, but the lien on service hours, training credits, things like that is in HR now.
Okay, cool. Thank you. No other question. Ask for a motion, please.
Council President, I move to amend the city's master services agreement with Collaborative Solutions LLC to include 1 year of Workday Lien on Services support at a cost of $71,300 to provide that future change orders and statements of work be authorized according to the amended value of all work performed under the master services agreement, and to ratify all prior agreements, change orders, and statements of work with Collaborative Solutions LLC, subject to final terms and conditions acceptable to the Human Resources Director and City Attorney.
That's a mouthful, isn't it? Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Let the record show unanimous pass. Carrie, thank you so much.
Thank you.
So you got off easy, no question, huh? You always got to have your wingman just in case, you never know, right? Okay, let's move on to item D, adoption to our equity strategic plan. We've got tag teams here, okay?
Good afternoon. Again, my name is Uriel Varela, Race and Equity Manager. Today I'm joined by
Maria Tizoc, the Race and Equity Coordinator.
and Maria and I have been working with community members as well as with internal core group to put this together. We're going to be presenting to you the full plan, which is very similar to what we've been sharing over the last year and a half. We've been updating you on every area of focus. This is no different. So this is just a full plan. So here's the meeting outline. We're going to go talk about how we got here. We're going to go over the areas of focus, actionable steps that were recommended through this co-creation or co-designing. We're going to be looking at timeline of implementation for 2023, the projects that are going to be starting this year, hopefully, and then evaluating progress. How are you going to be evaluating the strategic plan? So we were tasked in 2021 to create a strategic plan for DEI. We had to figure out our approach first, and that took a couple of months. But then we jumped right into community engagement. So we held a number of community listening sessions in multiple languages to be sure that we heard from our residents who historically have not or do not typically participate or comment or participate in any process when it comes to the city. We also held community-based organization partner interviews. These were about an hour and a half long with community-based organizations and leaders and what they thought about the city when it comes to diversity, equity, and inclusion, and how we can improve as a city when it comes to being a more welcoming organization. And finally, we did community interviews during the Kent Health Fair in July of 2021. This allowed us to reach a lot of folks who, again, do not historically participate. So these were some of the engagement efforts that we conducted during the summer of 2021. This resulted in a community engagement report that is available for anyone who's interested in reading it. And out of that report, we had some key themes that came out of those listening sessions and that engagement. So communication was at the top of some of the concerns from the public. They talked about how historically communications between the city and its diverse residents has been poor based on translation issues. They also talked about how it's important for us as a city to go to where the community is to inform on changes, on programs, on news, on anything that has to do with the city of Kent and resources for our residents. And the next one that we heard from as far as key themes is in language and cultural relevancy. This is very similar to what I just talked about, translation, interpretation services for our residents. They wanted us to really factor in the demographics of our city, especially when it comes to languages. We have over 136 spoken languages into our communication with them, as well as into the services that we provide our residents. One of the things that we heard the most is that not all communities are the same, so there has to be different approaches to different communities. And these were just some of the two of the key themes that came out of the initial community engagement in the summer of 2021. Here are a couple of more. So ongoing and real engagement. So for the most part, folks really appreciated the fact of having the city there, city leadership sometimes. Our former CAO was part of the process. And they wanted us to continue to do that, go out to the community, ask for their opinions, and their just thoughts on any program or any change in policy that might affect them. They wanted us to provide workshops for a better understanding of the city processes. So you'll see in our actionable steps that we have a Kent 101 kind of program. We're going to be going out to community-based organizations, to community groups to provide that update and that training that was streamlined during our onboarding of our stakeholders. So they want us to go to them. They wanted to learn more about the community of the city of Kent. So that's what we're going to do. Moving forward, we're going to be partnering with nonprofits to provide this presentation. And Mayor Ralph will also be attending these presentations to provide more information if we don't have those answers. Finally, racial equity and equitable representation were also key themes that resulted from these in-person listening sessions. We were told that investments in racial equity need to go beyond the plan. We were also asked to provide anti-bias training to our staff and to residents if possible. And you'll see that through the speaker series and the mandatory training that we've been going through these last couple of years. And finally, honoring our diverse community is what we heard as well. After we went to the community, we came back, and with our internal core team that was, we had representatives from each department, we worked on creating areas of focus for the plan as well as universal goals. So after work, I'm not going to go over the areas of focus or the goals. I think I've mentioned these plenty of times before, but we wanted to make sure that these goals and these areas of focus were what we heard from the community. So we went back to the community, to the same types of groups, and conducted vetting sessions. So we had a total of 3 vetting sessions. One was in Arabic and Kurdish on December 1st, 2021. One was in Spanish on December 4th, 2021. And finally, the one for CBOs and the one in English was on December 9th, 2021. So what we vetted was a BIPOC engagement report as well as the areas of focus that we created internally and the universal goals. So some of the highlights from these vetting sessions: the areas of focus were approved by participants in every session. The goals were also approved by participants. We were told that we needed to be more explicit and call out race. We needed to be more transparent when it came to funding. We needed to include the community throughout the process, so communicating the victories, which would be the actionable steps that we're taking, and then implementing the actionable steps while planning. Also, they wanted us to hire from the community as far as interpreters. The city of Kent has a lot of certified interpreters, so they wanted us to partner with our certified interpreters here in the city of Kent, our residents, to partner when it comes to that need. And finally, they want us to report back to community. Even if it's bad news, they want that information shared. We recruited folks, stakeholders, and we try to make sure that we kind of fit the demographics of the community as much as we could. We had 10 stakeholders, and they do mirror the population as best as we could. Through that process, we had our community stakeholders take the first look at each area of focus. After the stakeholders suggested some actionable steps, those steps would go back to the internal core team. The internal core team would work around providing more information that they knew. Perhaps we were already doing some of the things that were requested. So through that, we dialed down the actionable steps. We had over 100 to 46 that are in this plan. As you can see, we went by month and area of focus, and we had a total of 22 sessions with our internal group and our stakeholders, and 28 if you include the ELT vetting sessions that we went through over the last couple of months. This is one quote that came out of the co-design with our community stakeholders. I thought it was important to share it. This person said, I want the city to see the community as a fountain of knowledge and ideas that are ready to be shared. So they were really excited to be able to share some of those ideas. And the process was really exciting for us as well, because there was a lot of energy in it, in all of the meetings that we've had. So now we're going to move on to the actionable steps. So what resulted from all this engagement, all these conversations? Maria's going to take the first 2 areas of focus, and then I'm going to take the next few, and then we're going to wrap up with how we're going to be evaluating this strategic plan.
All right, so I'm going to start with the first area of focus, which is training, and then just go ahead and remind you all of the goal for this, which is the City of Kent will provide anti-racist and culturally relevant training along with other topics that foster constructive communication and cross-cultural understanding for city representatives and the broader community. And so for outcome A, we have the City of Kent employees build a capacity to provide culturally responsive services. And so employees will complete yearly mandatory trainings. The training will equip employees with tools and to facilitate complex conversations around race, equity, diversity, and belonging. And so last year we completed emotional intelligence as our mandatory training, which is basically building block for future trainings to come. And we're planning to do our mandatory training this year on Title VI in our language access plan. And currently we do have a Title VI training on NeoGov, which is, it's on your own pace, a 20-minute presentation giving historical context as to what Title VI is and the Civil Rights Act of 1964. And so that will give staff members a better understanding as to what Title VI is and what we're mandated to comply with since we do receive federal funds from WashDOT. And so moving on to action or outcome B, the broader Kent community continues a collective discussion and learning around concepts like race, equity, diversity, and belonging. And so we have the speaker series continuing that discussion. I'm sorry, I think I read the first outcome again. No, I didn't. So we have the speaker series just continue that discussion with the residents and also staff members to build understanding on these diverse topics. So before we had Missing Murdered Indigenous Women, we had Confronting Hard History by Hassan Jeffries, and then in the near future, we're going to have a conversation on disability. And then moving along to actionable or area focus communication. So again, I'm just going to read off that goal, which is the City of Kent is committed to building an inclusive and well-informed community by working to improve communication about city services in a manner that is culturally relevant and equitable. And so we have the first outcome of city residents sees themselves represented in communications. Outcome B, we have city residents receive vital city updates. And then for this last outcome, we have residents are aware of city resources and engagement opportunities. So we constantly kept hearing that different communities want to receive communication or information in different ways. Also, just as Uriel mentioned earlier, go to the community where they are and not expect them to meet where we are as a city. And so we have the actionable steps for this one. Communications coordinator attend Casey Dig and other BIPOC focused community networking meetings to provide updates to service providers. This way it allows us to build better relationships with community-based organizations and residents as a whole. And then the second actionable step, quarterly consultation in partnership with BIPOC serving organizations in Kent, sort of like the Coffee with the Chief and the Mayor, where we would go to these diverse organizations and businesses to give them updates as to what the city is doing and hearing a little bit more about the community and what they're doing, their events as well. And the last one is create a BIPOC business list / map. So when I first started here as an intern, one of my very first tasks was to reach out to minority-owned businesses, specifically the ones that speak Spanish. And it was very difficult to find that information because it doesn't exist. And so I was just calling different or businesses. And so it was just very time-consuming. And so for this one, we wanted to make sure that those businesses are receiving vital information, because why I was calling was we had COVID relief funds available for businesses. And so we want to make sure that those businesses are receiving that information.
So the next area of focus is community engagement, and the goal is for the City of Kent to engage in relationship building through ongoing dialogue, outreach, and inclusion, centering racial equity in our approach. That is a goal that resulted from this area of focus. And one of the actionable steps that we're taking is looking at our procurement process and analyzing it using a racial equity lens to make sure that we are sharing information about contracting with the city, with all of our residents and any women or minority-owned business that may be interested in putting in a bid for any of our contracts. So the idea here is to work with a consultant who has done this before, who has worked with I have someone in mind, but we're going to be reaching out to multiple consultants who have worked with other municipalities and cities on this process. The idea, again, is to be more engaging, more proactive when it comes to sharing information, especially attending, as you can see, one of the actionable steps is attending minority business expos. So we have, ECD has shared some information about their work on when it comes to going to these types of events, and we're hoping to do more of this when it comes to our contracting. So that is one of the actionable steps when it comes to community engaging our businesses. The next one is community continues to inform and help design citywide strategic planning. So you remember in one of the quotes, the quote that I shared is that they wanted to share more information. They were really excited about participating in the process of co-designing something like this that could become a practice in the city of Kent. So we want other folks other departments to have the opportunity to have this experience when it comes to co-designing. One of the unintended consequences, and I don't want to call it a consequence, I think unintended actions that came out of that is we got a lot of interest in our boards and commissions from our co-designers, our stakeholders, who wanted to learn more about how they could continue to be involved with the city. So we shared the boards and commissions. We told them this is an opportunity to do that same work. So I feel like, and just based on this experience, that if we continue to co-design strategic plans, folks in the community are going to want to continue to work with the city, especially if they're included in the process. So that is one of the actionable steps that we want to take. Outcome B is a community continue. Oh, sorry, I already read that one. Outcome C is the city of Kent will be certified welcoming city. There is an organization, nonprofit called Welcoming America that does certification for cities. They have a number of criteria that we have to meet to be able to be certified as a welcoming city. There are no welcoming cities in the state of Washington as of now. There is one competitor that we have who included this in their strategic plan, and that's the city of Kirkland. So we want to beat the city of Kirkland to become the first welcoming city in the state of Washington. So that is one of the actionable steps that we'll be taking. We want to become a member of this organization first, and then work on the criteria that they ask us to work on. And the good thing is that through this strategic plan, we're going to be meeting a lot of that criteria. So I feel like we have a little bit of a advantage over other cities right now. So the next one is in-language resources. As you can tell, it's mostly around translation and interpretation services. So through the listening sessions, we heard from our community that they wanted us to work with our own City of Kent certified interpreters. So we're going to be working on creating a certified interpreter and translation list for the City of Kent. We're already receiving requests from different departments to see if we have this list ready. So we're going to be working on creating this list, and we're going to combine another actionable step with this actionable step, which will be the emergency services notification. And I'm probably mispronouncing their name or not saying it correctly, but what we're going to be asking our interpreters is to be part of that process or part of that group in King County to grow our numbers here in the city of Kent. So there'll be certified interpreters who would be able to work with us in every department, and there'll also be communicators. Whenever there's a need to communicate emergency information, they would be receiving that information as well. And then the outcome C is something that we're working on already, which is city-owned facilities create a welcoming environment. The city's multimedia department and facilities are already working on welcoming messages on our doors and designing some of that information. If you've traveled through different cities, different city halls, some of them already have some of this information. King County elections, if you've ever been to their building, they have a lot of this signage and provide a really welcoming environment for folks who may speak a different language. And then this last one, I shared a little bit during our retreat. So we're looking to leverage certified interpreters and translators with artificial intelligence when it comes to translation and interpretation. So one of the things that I mentioned is that through our research, we found some headphones that only translate. So they don't work with music or phones. They do translation, immediate translation in over 40 languages. We purchased 2 of them, and we've been testing them so far. I've tested them in Spanish. It's really good. The accuracy, according to the company, is about 95%. I thought it was a little bit better than that, especially when it came to Spanish. And the idea here is that we can create a pilot project where we provide our customer service counters with these headphones, so that this is just another resource to have that one-on-one conversation with our residents if they need that help. Like I said, it's about 40-something languages. Unfortunately, one of our most popular languages is not part of it yet, and that's Punjabi. But they keep updating the languages, so we're hopeful that that'll be included. But all of our other top 10 languages are part of this. The company includes it in the headphones. So that's an idea of what this could look like moving forward when it comes to translation and interpretation. But we're going to continue to look for more opportunities to lower costs when it comes to translation, because that is really heavy cost to the city and to anyone who wants to do translations. The next area of focus is equitable representation. We heard that through the process of the listening sessions. So I'm going to go over outcome A. The City of Kent increases the number of multilingual staff members. So the idea here is to go to each department, see what languages we're speaking. If there's a gap when it comes to the top 6 languages that we speak, adding that to one of our recruiting incentive for jobs that are customer or resident facing. So we want to, for example, if there's a job opening, we could include desired or Spanish speaking or multilingual skills. So that is just one of the actionable steps that we'll be taking. And you can see that we have 4 there. The next outcome is the City of Kent retains its diverse staff, and all staff feels like they belong. So we, as a city, are rated. I'm looking at actionable step 3, the MEI scores. So we, as a city, are rated through a large national organization that is the grades city based on their approach and their openness and their engagement with LGBTQIA population. So as of 2022, our score was going to be at, I believe it was going to be at 76 out of 100. Through just conversation and sharing the fact that we were working on something like this, our score went up to 82. So the hope is to get it to 100. There are about 12 to 15 cities that are rated, and the scores go from 20 to 100, and we're somewhere in the middle or the top. So again, this is the hope, and the goal is to go to up to 100 as far as the score is concerned from this organization. So, and then outcome C, the City of Kent works collaboratively with local BIPOC serving community-based organizations to create a diverse candidate network for city job openings. We do have nonprofits in the area whose sole focus is helping immigrants get jobs. We have nonprofits who serve our refugee communities who could also benefit from just learning about our jobs that are open here. So the idea is to partner closer with these organizations, share information as far as job announcements, and perhaps have them refer some candidates, qualified candidates to us for certain positions. Again, this is not a quota system. We're not going to be hiring folks that are just referred to us, but this is another opportunity to increase that number of applicants. And then finally, the City of Kent, this is the last outcome. The City of Kent removes implicit bias from the hiring process. So we have the City of Kent develops a blind recruiting process. Our technology does not permit us to do that quite yet, but that is something that we're looking forward to. All interview panel participants will take implicit bias training before in-person interviews. This is already happening. So when you're asked to be part of a panel, you receive information from HR, which includes the implicit bias modules, which are just 4 5-minute modules, 20 minutes. And we're asking our folks who are part of this interview panel, to take that implicit bias training. And then finally, all in-person interviews include a question focused on diversity, equity, and inclusion. Again, this is already happening. So we're going to continue to work with our HR department to figure out ways to be more inclusive when it comes to hiring. And now on implementation. Sorry, you can't really see this. I can't really see this, so I'm going to look over here. But we're looking at Title VI and the Language Access Plan to be the first things that we roll out. The Title VI plan and the Language Access Plan are in review with legal to make sure that we meet whatever legal requirements are there. But the first thing that will happen through the Language Access Plan is we're going to ask each department to identify their vital documents for translation into the top 5 languages. So that process will take a few months, but we will be translating every vital document into the top 5 languages. We have a budget for that at the moment, so that's going to be one of the first things that we roll out. Maria mentioned the training on Title VI. We're going to be working on Title VI training as well as language access training. And as you can see there, the year 2023 is pretty full. We have less months this year, but our goal is to complete all these actionable steps moving forward after hopefully the plan is approved. And how are we going to evaluate progress? So the Cultural Communities Board is transitioning to an Equity and Belonging Board, name pending. We don't have a name yet. They will play a primary role in reviewing the progress and advising implementation. So the Ready Office, Maria and I, will compile and present a report annually for the board to review and provide progress ratings. So you can look at on the right, the progress ratings. They can rate us as no progress for the area of focus, moderate progress, significant progress, or it's successful if we completed all the actionable steps. A dashboard would also be created to kind of see where we are when it comes to each actionable step. And I'm hoping that dashboard can live within our race and equity website that Maria created this year. And then we're hoping to provide you with quarterly updates as a council to share what we've implemented, successes, and of course failures, because that's part of the process. And finally, the Cultural Communities Board will become the stakeholder group to help co-design future plans or updates. So the Cultural Communities Board was ready to transition into something more something like this, where they can help us implement and just work on this strategic plan. And there's a box that just appeared. And thank you, that is it.
Hey, great presentation. I really appreciate that. Couple of questions. So, on your first bullet, we talk about the focus of training. So, mandatory training for all employees. What did that look like? I mean, do you have a list like mandatory training that employees take yearly?
I'm not sure if we have a list of yearly mandatory training. So this resulted from just the fact that we needed to have more training on DEI. So with Aaron Jones, it was the first mandatory training. This was in, I think, 2021. So we're looking at different areas of focus when it comes to training. So this year was emotional intelligence, so being able to have those tough conversations. This year, is going to be Title VI. So we don't really have a list of all the mandatory trainings that each department has, but yes.
Is it separate or is it based on the city? So would economic development have a different mandatory training versus parts, or does it?
It's for this, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, it's citywide. Everybody would be trained on the same thing.
Okay. So if I'm a new employee coming in today, there's certain training I need to take?
Yeah, so the one limitation is that we're only able to train folks that have a NeoGov license. So contractors do not have that.
Right.
So they're not able to take that training.
Okay.
That's our biggest limitation right now.
So you're doing a lot of work around this race, equity, diversity, and as you collect data. So when employees leave the organization, there's sometimes we have exit interviews, and sometimes there's good data on exit interview that might help you here. So there's a correlation between you and HR to look at some of that data to try to help drive to where you're trying to go.
Yes, so if you look at, I believe it's equitable representation. We have, I think it's on outcome B. You can see exit interview there.
Okay,
Because we want to make sure that folks are leaving for the right reasons.
right.
Not because they don't feel included.
Right, good, okay, I didn't see that, thank you. And my last question, any help needed? I mean, you got a lot of stuff going on, and Maria's helping you, which is good, and this is a huge elephant to swallow, right? So I'm just curious about,
More help that we can get, the better, honestly, yes.
yeah,
So I would never say no to more help.
okay. Hey, great job, I remember you start, where you at today. We still got a long ways to go, no doubt about that, but I definitely believe we're moving in the right direction. So thank you both, I really appreciate that. Councilmember Larmer, followed by Fincher.
Wonderful presentation, and so finishing up. You have been doing a great job keeping this apprised of this development, and I'm just really excited to have this before us for final approval. A couple questions. Well, also, let me also thank you, Evan. I picked up on the inclusion of LGBTQ and also disabled communities throughout this, so thank you for including those communities as well. On the BIPOC mapping, I know we've talked at times in ECD and I think in operations here too about the permitting system and being able to pull some of this business information through the permitting system. Are you guys connecting with that effort? And I think there were some barriers, but
Yeah, I think there are some barriers. We are having conversations with ECD Bill. We thought this could be a good opportunity for us to work with the Chamber of Commerce. So that is what we're looking forward to, having that partnership and having them vet the list as well as keep it updated. So that's the idea moving forward.
and then on the technology needed to allow for the masking for the HR, is it Workday and Workday doesn't have that module?
Not
or
yet.
You just haven't?
They don't have it yet, I believe, so but it is through Workday. Yeah.
Okay, that was all my questions. So
Okay.
Thank you guys again.
Just for clarity, Workday have the capability, we just don't have the module yet.
I'm not sure if they already have it.
Don't have the capability?
Okay.
Okay.
Not on the application side of it.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Fincher?
I thank you. I'll pick up with that one. So where on the list, because I know when we had the last report, we heard that basically the more companies who ask for this, the more their customers, then the higher it gets pushed up the ladder to get done. Where is it looking like we are now? Will that get done this year? What have you heard from Workday as far as the masking?
And I know that.
Carrie, you want to come up? Carrie?
I know that they're still working on that piece of it. I have not gotten any feedback from Workday where it is on the agenda as to when they're going to actually implement it. But we have neighboring cities that are also asking for it. So it definitely is something on their list. I can check back and see where they're at and get back with you.
Please do.
Okay.
Thank you. And then I just love the reports. I love when you come and give us reports. It is filling my heart each time because we hear this so often, and to have it quantified, all of this information in one place where it now has an official stamp. And I look forward, I like the different marks. So when we reach significant, when we are climbing that ladder, then it will also warm my heart so that we are actually getting things done. You'd mentioned the organizations that hire some of the immigrants. I hope also, and I'm sure that you already are, not forgetting the Blacks and the Indigenous also, and also glad that we were including disabled and LGBTQ. I'd like you to please invite council to some of those, or to the neighborhood groups. Some of us have relationships, like to go, but we would like to also continue forming new ones. And that is it for mine. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We like when Councilman Fincher have a warm heart. It makes us all feels good. So thank you so much. Hey, great presentation, Maria. Good job. I know it's one of your first presentations to us. So
Trying to ease my way in.
you're doing a good job. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're doing a good job. Thank you so much. Anything else, council member? We good? Hey, keep up the good work, and we look forward to your next report. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, guys, for that, we are adjourned.
Actually, no, we have a
Oh,
motion.
Vote, right.
excuse me. So sorry. Councilmember Fincher, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. President, I move to adopt Resolution Number 2058 to adopt the Race and Equity Action Plan, establishing specific actions necessary to ensure government policies and practices are equitable for all persons who live, work, and visit Kent.
Second.
Motion in a second. I apologize on that great presentation, not adopting this here, so forgive me, please. So, okay. Any comments? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Let the record show unanimous pass. And once again, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Now we are adjourned.